Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the FridgeCast. Small update. We want to apologize for the lack of videos and the absence on the channel lately. We want to tell you that we are working on it and that we do have ideas to go through right now. And hopefully, you'll stick with us and enjoy our content. Thank you very much.
Okay. Today, we are going to go in, discuss, and sort of rank, sort of not really rank, our top games that have not been franchised to death, like Call of Duty, Halo, Assassin's Creed, or any other AAA game that gets released every year.
All right, so let's start the list off with a what I would consider a very under the radar type of game because I think it deserves a lot more praise. It was released in a very bad time frame, I'd say, because it was caught right between two AAA games, so it went under everybody's radar. So at my number five, I have Immortals: Phoenix Rising.
Yeah.
This is obviously a very Assassin's Creed Ubisoft experience title. A lot more on the lighter side, though. A lot more comedic tones, art style directions, a lot more cartoonish. But overall, a very good, solid game. And definitely under the radar, like I said.
Like I can definitely attest to what you said because I know what it is. I know of it. I've seen it. I've just never ever played it, and I've never really thought to play it.
Like I said, I can't really explain this game because it's a mix of a lot of Ubisoft games, but it's obviously heavily inspired by the Greco-Roman era,
Era.
sorry. Right? And it's just very Assassin's Creed like, but it's all with brand new abilities and everything, It's almost as if you took the Assassin's Creed genre today, such as Valhalla and Odyssey, and even Origins for that fact, and put a mythical spin on it. And I think it's a really good game, and it's good that it doesn't take itself too seriously, because if it didn't, that'd be a case for disaster, in my opinion. Because when I was playing through the game, a lot of the dialogue actually did make me laugh, and I did like that.
Well, the internet definitely seems to agree with you that it's a good game. The consensus seems to be a 4.5 out of 5, which is pretty good, especially for a game that I've rarely heard talked about, honestly. And off the back of that, we will start with my quote unquote number 5, which is Legend of Dragoon.
Oh man, what a great game.
It is a great game. Now, I haven't played this game in a very, very long time. It is, among other things, I would say compared most heavily to Final Fantasy VII because that is the same game style, came out around the same time. And a couple
Yeah,
points,
heavily.
I would say the characters are slightly worse, but they're still developed, but they're not quite as developed as Final Fantasy VII. That is the only really point that I would say hurts them when comparing them to other PlayStation RPGs of the time.
Yeah, I could definitely see if someone just even looks it up from a quick Google search like we're looking at right now. It definitely does look like that era where it's like early PlayStation games just trying their best to be that third dimensional look,
Yeah.
and it
But
definitely looks like
honestly,
the Final
like
Fantasy games.
if you look at it though, like if you compare them side by side, at least in my opinion, I think Legend of Dragoon looks a lot better than Final Fantasy VII did. I
I would
think
definitely say so.
I think
Final Fantasy VII was a lot more. It's a bit older too, so that would make
yes.
sense. Yeah.
It's a lot Final Fantasy VII was a lot blockier, while Legend of Dragoon is a little bit more polished. You can't really see the blocked edges.
Yeah, I would definitely say Legend of Dragoon is one of those games that I think if I went back to play this at some point, it definitely would hold up, I think.
I think it would too. And it definitely is also agreed on by the internet, by the
Five
majority
out of five.
giving it a 5 out of 5, which I don't know if I would say 5 out of 5. It's
How many
close.
ratings?
128, so that's probably why, because
Wow.
it's an older game. But it's still like, even in the aftermarket, it's still like a $50 game.
Solid game though, 100% agree.
It is.
All
You're
right. So for my number 4 is a cult classic. And this is a game that definitely needs to be remade. And I don't know if there is in talkings about it, but it's a very popular game that most people of the role-playing game genre know and love. Chrono Trigger. I would say one of the biggest RPGs in the world, I believe. It's definitely a defying game in the genre for sure.
Well, yeah, look at how many times it's been remade.
Yeah. And that's kind of the problem with it. I wish we got more of a remake than a remaster, because that's what a lot of them are. There's just remasters and updated visuals for the game. But yeah, this game obviously is an older game. I forgot what year it came out. I believe it was 96.
95.
So it's an older game for sure, just like the Final Fantasy and Legend of Dragoon, older style game. And I believe it holds up very well to my standards today at least.
Yeah, I haven't played it, and I don't think I've ever fully played it, but I have played it before, back when I first got into Super Nintendo collecting, and I've got it, but I've never finished the game. But it definitely did hold up, especially for such an early era RPG. It's hard to believe that something so complex and vast was put on such small amounts of data, just like the whole Mother series.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see this game as one of the, I'd say, core video games that defied, I can't find my words, that defined their own genre. I think Chrono Trigger is just an amazing game. The story was well paced and characters are bright, good dialogue through and through, amazing worlds to explore. I could probably say it's a lacking combat system, but that's just because of its age, just like the older games. But it doesn't mean it's bad. I could go back and play it right now on my computer, the remastered version that is, and it runs so smoothly.
I have probably the weakest entry, The Order. So this is kind of a tough one for me. It was a good game because I think it's a PlayStation exclusive, isn't it? No,
Yeah,
maybe
it's a
it's not.
PlayStation 4 launch game.
See, the internet disagrees with me a little bit. 6.5 out of 10. I would actually no, that's pretty close. Because it was a launch game, it was definitely a bit weaker. The graphics were a little meh, the controls were a little clunky for my term, similar to, in my opinion, the Council. I know you played that game.
Oh yeah, good game.
It's a good game, but same problems. It has a very, in my opinion, at least a clunky control scheme, but it has a lot of potential. It's one of the games that I think I would actually like to see a sequel of, to see them flush out the story and maybe make it smoother to play. But it's almost gone too far into the movie.
I know what you're talking about
Yes.
because I remember. I don't know if it was a launch game, so excuse me if I don't remember correctly, but Quantum Break was more of a movie slash game.
Quantum Break is 100% movie. Yeah, that
It's
was,
trying to push the
and that's the
cinematics for
thing.
their time.
The graphics. When I say graphics, I mean like the playable parts. The cinematics are beautifully shot and beautifully done, but the gameplay
Right.
itself is definitely, at least in my opinion, an afterthought, similar to Quantum Break.
What year was it released? It was a PS4, so it was 2015.
2017, 2015. You're right.
Now, okay, I'm gonna sound like a
Of
hater,
course, granted,
but
I could be wrong. I could think I could the gameplay honestly could have been good, and it could have looked very good because these screenshot looks a lot better. Maybe I'm just remembering, a game 7 years ago and thinking, oh, that doesn't look that good.
all right, I suppose I should talk about my third game on the list. Number three. For this third game, I have so much love for, but like I said, I remember a lot of things that I was very bothered by, and I hope with newer generations, if this game ever gets a remaster, it doesn't need to be remade at all. It's much newer, but it's Vampire.
Yeah, Vampires. I was going to pick Vampire, but I honestly didn't just because I knew you would pick it.
Well, yeah, me and you bought this game at the same time. Very good story.
It was one of those games that we bought on Xbox for, I want to say it was pretty close to release.
Yeah, it wasn't a full price game if I remember. It's not 60.
It was, I believe, 30 or 40 at launch, and I think we got it for maybe 20 on sale.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I remember we played, and I had gotten to the Red Queen. Is that her name?
The final boss, yeah.
This, yeah, the Red Queen, Scarlet Queen, something like that. And I had played the game in a way that made the final boss so difficult that honestly I just gave up.
Really? I thought you beat it.
I did. I ended up buying it again on my PC a few years later and playing it again and beating it on that.
Yeah, I definitely think the Red Queen was really hard. I tried to make it as easy as
Well,
possible
I
because I
was
was
playing the
enjoying the
game
story.
trying I was playing the game trying to keep everyone alive and yada yada. So I was super under level for that fight and I just couldn't outmaneuver the combat.
It very much goes off of the premise that you need to keep important people alive that you're close to as your character.
It's like
Like you don't want to
Telltale's,
kill.
but matters.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But I will say the one thing that I shouldn't say problem with the game, don't play this game on a console. The loading is
Just don't
atrocious.
know. Yeah, that is my biggest problem with the game for sure, and that's the bad memories I was talking about. Dude, this game loads so bad.
It loads.
I remember playing it on the Xbox, and it took probably, I don't want to say a quite literal time, but around like 3 minutes to 4 minutes for one load screen,
It
and that wasn't okay.
it took for. I will say it's a lot better on a computer. I think the longest load I ever had to do was maybe 15, maybe 20 seconds, just coming out of the sewers and underground. But it
Right.
definitely runs, performs, and looks a lot better on a computer, as it should. But the console ports, definitely, I would not play again.
We definitely had an argument about how we pronounce this game too. I remember that for the
It's
longest.
Vampire.
And I kept saying vampire because like I is sometimes like the Y. But hey, whatever.
It's
I
Vampire.
understand it's vampire now. Oh, like whatever. Let's hear what you got next.
We will go with another game that we both really enjoyed and really played, and would say it's probably one of the best in this studio's repertoire. The Wolf Among Us, which apparently did not know this, has a perfect 10 out of 10 on Steam.
Does it really?
That's what it says, 10 out of 10.
Wow. Yeah, no, definitely. This was one of the first Telltale games I ever played on my 360. And then I loved this so much I played it on my Xbox One again and I enjoyed every second of
I
it.
was gonna say I played this when it was the free game of the month on Xbox Gold.
Yeah, that's when I played it too. It was free on the 360 at
Yeah.
some point too, and that's when I
Mm.
started to play it.
And it really is. I would say it's not a 10. I would say it's like a 9 out of 10. But it's the art style fits it very well. It's comic storybook esque, like
Yeah.
most of Telltale's games. But I would say it works the most in its favor because of the material that it's basing off of.
Yeah, very good comic book style. It suits the game incredibly well. Like most of the Telltale games, they know how to find the right art direction. Like I said, I believe it was the first Telltale game I got into, and it got me into Telltale games, which I hold very high on my lists of like best games of all time,
Definitely. And along that,
especially cinematic.
also along that line, it's not quite good enough to me to put on the list. I also really enjoy Tales of the Borderlands, and this, I mean, it doesn't really count because Tales of the Borderlands, and then later Borderlands ended up taking from Tales of the Borderlands, but it definitely falls in that category as Telltale's best games, I would say.
I love this game though, The Wolf Among Us. I hope, actually, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure Wolf Among Us 2 is in the making.
I don't know because they were saying so, but then they said coming in 2021, and then COVID happened, and then nothing happened. Wolf Among Us 2 will be released episodically in 2023.
But Telltale will complete. Okay, I see.
So I guess
It is coming out then. Good.
cool. All right, well, all
Loved
right,
all the characters. Love to see where it
yes.
goes.
All right, continue on.
All right, yeah. So my second game there is definitely very close to Vampire, very heavy into the lore of the characters, the whole era of the books and everything. It's Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu is very good. You know I like Call of Cthulhu. You know I
Yes,
like pretty much all of Cthulhu media.
Yes, and I was turned on to this, I would say around 2019. I think that's when we played it. I could be wrong, but
I
it's
think
when I started to look a bit more into the source material and the actual Lovecraftian horror side of things. And ever since I got a bit more deeper into that genre, I'm in love with it. The game is beautifully done. I'd almost say it's closer to a masterpiece game or a novelty game, I should say. Like you should at least play this once in your life and experience the type of story that it provides.
I think the Sinking City is a better Cthulhu game.
See, I played like a couple hours of that game. I never finished it.
Call of Cthulhu to me is a little bit more horror based, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I would say,
It's a more story-driven
yeah,
linear horror
I would
game,
say
yes.
Sinking City does a better job of being a fun, well made game. I can definitely tell Call of Cthulhu was a little rough around the edges based on the controls mainly. I do recall
Yes, yeah. The
feeling a
controls
bit
were bad.
stiff and bad. But I would say Sinking City is definitely the more polished what Call of Cthulhu could have been if they had either a bigger developer or a little bit more time.
Yeah, this was another game. I feel like most of these games that we're talking about here are definitely an under the radar type game. Call of Cthulhu. If you love the source material of the Lovecraftian horror series, you'd love this game. It's quite simple. I think it really drives home this universe of making people go mad and everything, and just the horror, like you said. I think it's A1. I think it really does it well. The characters are very intriguing. I went through the game twice at this point, and the first time caught me a lot off guard, trying to see what the problem was with all the residents of the town and stuff like that. And then my favorite part of the game is this, I believe it's the second time you visit the hospital and things are wonky, to say the least.
Yeah, after you start getting feared, is that what the mechanic was called?
It was something like that. But yeah, in this section, you're walking throughout the hospital, and literally, this is like Cthulhu's influence on the town, pretty much. Fucking just making you see shit, and it's a great experience. I don't know how to phrase it. It's just amazing.
All right. So my next one, although it's not personally one of my favorites, it's definitely a fun game and it's definitely very widely loved. Bully.
A good classic. Yeah, for sure. I see it.
Yes, although I have again another game I haven't played since the 360 when it first came out.
Yeah, me
Although
too.
I do remember that when it came out on Xbox One or backwards compatibility for Xbox One, that a lot of people did play it again, but I never did. But
Played a little bit of it, but yeah.
it's just classic, Rockstar open world esque with plenty of options. You can do all kinds of random fucked up shit. It's a decent storyline.
It's definitely one of Rockstar's highly regarded games that they've ever
It's definitely a Rockstar game. Like even just look at like some of if you just look at some of the screenshots, it just looks
made.
like Grand Theft
And
Auto with a
some
child.
parts of the game.
That's pretty much all I have to say about that. I don't have much to say. I just couldn't make a list without it. Not apparently it was on the Wii.
Oh, on the Wii. There was a lot of games forward to the Wii that sucked
True.
because of the Wii's motion controls and shit.
Okay.
So now we're gonna move on to honorable mentions.
Yep. And so honorable mentions, we're not going to go too deep into it. We're just going to say the name and a couple of little tidbits about it. I only have two. I don't know how many Jake has.
I only have two as well, but one's gonna shock you. You already know the other one. I had to ask because I didn't necessarily know. But well, he said we're gonna let this one slide, so we'll just get through this one first. Marvel's Spider-Man for the PlayStation. I mean, it's a masterpiece. I've played it for like an hour, and I just can't wait till it comes to the PC, which is August, I believe. It's an August release.
Yes.
Really can't wait. I want to get my hands on it. I want to fully play through it. I mean, it's Spider-Man, one of my favorite superheroes. It's highly regarded as one of the best superhero games next to the Batman games of the Arkham series. So,
It's not very high competition.
yeah, sadly, we need better.
there's only like
I feel like it's a genre
there's
that needs
only
love.
maybe like 10 that are even worth replaying. Out of the
What? You don't want to play the
hundreds.
Green Lantern game?
Nah, that's one of the 10.
Shut up. But yeah, Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, amazing game. I can't say anything more about it. Just can't wait till it comes out so I can fully play through. And then obviously there is Miles Morales, which is why it shouldn't be on this list because they're doing a whole series. And then Spider-Man 2 will be coming out in the next couple years, as we know so far, which includes Venom from the trailers, which I'm very excited about, especially if they do him justice, especially. So I'm super excited to see how that wraps up. But yeah, Marvel Spider-Man, amazing game. Good honorable mention, I think.
All right, so I will run through my two, kind of three, because as we were doing this, I thought of another one, but I already mentioned it. So we'll do that one first off. The Council for the story. Everything else is garbage.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree. I love the story of the council. Yeah.
Yes. So that's pretty much all I have to say to that. Then the next one that also kind of is my version of should not be here, but I want to mention because it's a very much a divergence from what the series usually sees. Super Mario RPG of the Legend of the Seven Stars.
Let me pull this up. I've never heard about this, I don't
You have
think.
never heard of Super Mario RPG.
Okay, no, I've heard about that.
That's what
What
it
was the
is.
rest?
That's
Seven
the full
stars?
title.
Oh, okay. Oh
You've
yeah. Huh. Yeah, no. I remember this game
Yeah,
too.
it
Yeah.
definitely shouldn't be on the list because, Mario is one of the biggest franchises in the world. And then my final one, which is kind of the one I was most disappointed about, and I would have put it on the actual list if it was good. Well, not good. I would have put it on the actual list if it was finished. Would be Blues and Bullets.
I knew you were gonna talk about this game. I knew it. I was looking at games that I've played for this list and I thought I knew you play I never played it, but I knew you had high regards for the game, but
I
it was
did.
never finished.
It was never finished. It was abandoned by the developer. I think it had two quote unquote episodes out of I believe five. But it
Damn.
basically I can't say too much about it because it stopped so early. But it was basically Elliot Ness working with Al Capone about getting back Al Capone's granddaughter who had been kidnapped, and it was a very good art style. It was mostly black and white with some light color here and there, which is very surprising because usually I hate black and white.
Rare to find a game like that too.
Yes. But it was just one of those games I stumbled across on the Xbox store at the time. I'm like, oh, $5, I'll get it. And then I found out, oh, it only has two episodes. And then I did some digging, and the developers just kind of abandoned it, and it will probably never be completed.
That's such a sad case with certain games that
Yeah.
release episodically.
It is. So that's one of the things that I wouldn't recommend it purely because it's not finished. But if it ever does get finished one day or remade or redone, which I highly doubt it because it's just such a small game and such a niche topic, but the bits that were done were very good and I would have loved to finish it. But
All
yeah,
right.
it's again seems to be the consensus. A lot of people enjoy the game, but it will never be completed. It's sat like this for going on 6 years. No, not 6 years, 4 years.
And my last game on my honorable mentions, everybody, is an indie game. This is the only indie game on my list. Um, I hope you played it. It's called Oxenfree.
I don't think I have, but I do know of it.
It was again one of those free indie games that the Xbox pushed out for free for
Oh,
everybody.
then no, I definitely wouldn't have played it. I didn't play any of those.
This is one of those indie games that I think is a gem. In one of our older videos, I said I held Dusk or Dust an Elysian Tale as one of my favorite indie games of all time. This is right next to it, and they're completely different games. Dust was more of an action platformer indie. This is more of a psychological. Nah, psychological. Nah, maybe not as much. Maybe though, depending on how you look at it. Psychological. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Paranormal game. It definitely had a lot to do with kids on an island, a group of people, and then you just slowly but surely understand that something's not right on this island, and that there's ghosts telling you what and not what not to do, and you make decisions in this game which do matter for the ending. And it does give a very good atmosphere of the game, giving it the most creepiest vibes I've ever played in an indie game, at least. I
Yeah.
don't have much else to say about it, but I hold it up there as one of my favorite indie games I've ever played for sure. Good atmosphere, good characters, great art direction. It's a 2D side-scrolling game. No platforming necessarily. There's a little bit of puzzle solving, which is good, and uh the music. Oh yeah, the music is a big part of this game. Very 80s inspired, like synth waves, but like super dark and ghastly, super supernatural. And I think that sold it very well to me, at least. So it's a great game. Okay, your number one is clearly Sunset Overdrive.
Yes, it is.
I knew it. Let's go.
It is Xbox's, in my opinion, greatest launch game. Right? How many? Well, what were Xbox's launch games?
Well, we're not gonna count Halo back in the day, but yes, because Halo's obviously a franchise. But
Yeah, even so, I think I like Sunset Overdrive more than Halo 5. It would have been Guardians, right?
yeah, Halo 5 Guardians. Yep.
I think I like Sunset Overdrive a lot more than Guardians. But yeah,
Well, this game has elements of a lot of different games, to be fair.
yes, it was also during the zombie hype, so the
Yeah.
zombie esque creatures that you shoot with the most absurd weapons you can possibly make.
Yep.
With
This
every
is an amazing game.
it is with every kind of reference imaginable, every kind of gun imaginable, just the weirdest of shit.
See, when I first played this game, because I do love this game, I'm surprised I didn't put it on my list, to be honest. I didn't know it was gonna be on yours. When I first played this game, I thought this is Tony Hawk, like one of the better Tony Hawk games, because there is a lot of like grinding on pipes to get around with the movement. And so I thought, oh, this feels like a Tony Hawk game in a strange way, with like super ridiculous zombie creatures and guns. Quite honestly, that's what I thought. I don't know.
I mean, there's
It's
definitely a lot of grinding around, a lot of jumping and just using that kind of shit to get around.
and this surprises me a little to this day that you're not the biggest fan of verticality in games unless it's done right, of course, and I get that. Like Titanfall's a vertical game that we both love, but then there was other games that tried to do verticality movement based things, and it just did not work out. Sunset Overdrive does this really good though, with the movement in the game, jumping from rooftop to rooftop, grinding, flying everywhere. It does it good. Overall, a good game though. I definitely see where you're coming from. I love the art style of the game. It takes itself, it 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 knows what kind of game it is, and it makes fun of itself sometimes, and I love that about games. All right, my number one is a game that I play to this day that I started playing almost 7 years ago. Is Smite. Uh, Battleground of the Gods, of course. This is a third-person MOBA, and I can't really look back now. I tried other MOBAs in the genre. None have really grasped me. I can
No, and
enjoy a
we've tried.
few. Yeah, we've
I
tried.
mean, I've agreed. I've dabbled in League of Legend, but yes, personally, I just don't like it as much as Smite. I know that's the unpopular opinion, but
Yeah, League's obviously the massively popular MOBA around, but I think Smite does it better for me because
I
I think it's
I
more
would
contained.
say I like the third person esque of Smite a lot better than League's top down thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying by any means that League of Legends is a worse game. I would say objectively League of Legends is a better game. I just like Smite more.
Yeah, and I think what's easy to get with Smite is everybody, most likely. You know at least a couple, right? Because it's based off of mythology
Yes.
and a lot of mythos. So you know like Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Cupid even. You know all of these gods, Athena, and that's a lot of the Greek, but then you have strange pantheons in this game that you probably wouldn't even think of. But like there's some Polynesian gods and mystical characters that are in the game now.
And the Voodoo Pantheon.
Yeah, the Voodoo Pantheon with one god, Baron Samedi.
Oh yeah, which I've
Very fun
almost
though.
never heard anything about Baron Somni in anything other than Smite.
Exactly. I'm definitely the same way. But I think the third person perspective leads this game to number one solely, to be honest, because I do not like top down games unless it's a strategy game, most likely at least.
Agreed.
And I think it's just, I mean, I can't say anything negative about the game because there's days where I
Oh, I
love
can.
and hate it. Oh, yeah, no, I know. I can talk a lot of shit about this game,
It's very
but
easy, actually.
I'm not going to because, like I said, going on 7 years of playing this game, even with you, uh,
Me on and off.
right? It's I just come back to this game. It's one of my few comfort games where I'll get home from work and I'll just turn this on, play for an hour or so, and I'll be happy if I win.
Agreed.
Overall, great game though. Love it. Can't say anything bad about it on certain days.
I can say something bad about it at all times.
Yeah, I can say that about some of your games, Mister The Order.
Look, if you're gonna
Which,
make
by the
fun
way,
of anything, you have to make fun of the council because that is objectively the worst game on that list.
that's our list. Again, I'll just run through mine real quick. 5 was Immortals Phoenix Rising, 4 Chrono Trigger, 3 Vampire, 2 Call of Cthulhu, and number 1 was Smite. And my honorable mentions were Marvel's Spider-Man, which shouldn't have been here, but it's fine. And then Oxenfree.
Yep. And my number 5 was The Legend of Dragoon. Number 4 would have been The Order, which probably should have been switched around actually. 3 would have been Bully. 2 would have been The Wolf Among Us. 1 would have been Sunset Overdrive, and then honorable mentions include Super Mario RPG, which is the least.
Just like Spider-Man, it shouldn't have been on the
Yeah,
list,
it
most
shouldn't have
likely.
been on the list, but it was just such a divergence from what the franchise used to do and still does to this day that it had to be included, at least to talked about. The Council and
Losing Bullets.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
the last one would have been Blues and Bullets because it is not completed.
All right,
I
yeah.
forgot about it
Definitely
just
makes
like the
sense.
developers did.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I love the fact that you put The Wolf Among Us on your list. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, and honestly,
And
this list was a little bit harder to make than I was thinking of. I think we'll definitely have to return to this topic.
yeah, I think we're more of a I want to say, like we said, we don't play a lot of indie games. It's something we're gonna try to get around to.
I play
But
a lot more indie games than you do, though.
yeah, a fair bit more for sure. I'm more of the AAA person between the two of us. We both know this.
Oh, easily. I almost always
But
will lean towards indie or small studios.
yeah, but that being said, not all AAA games are good. We'll see you guys in the next episode of the FridgeCast. Have a good day.